September 10th, 1944. The phone line crackles between Branville, France, and Brussels, Belgium. At Supreme Headquarters, Eisenhower stands with the receiver pressed against his ear, watching his chief of staff across the operations room. The logistics map spread on the table between them shows 3 armies grinding American army groups in place. Nearly 800,000 men, immobilized, waiting while one man gambles everything. Eisenhower covers the receiver and looks at Walter Bedell Smith. If this fails, Eisenhower says quietly, we lose everything. Smith doesn't disagree, because they both understand what Montgomery is asking isn't just logistical priority. He's asking for control without saying the word. He's asking to decide the war. And Eisenhower already knows what kind of war Patton is fighting 200 miles to the south. Patton isn't waiting. He never waits. Since breaking out of Normandy, Third Army has advanced faster than Allied planners thought possible, crossing rivers under fire, capturing fortified cities, forcing German units to retreat before they can organize defense. German reports describe his attacks not as methodical advances, but as sudden violence, appearing where logic says he cannot be. Patton isn't winning because he has more fuel. He's winning because he refuses to stop moving. And that changes everything. Montgomery's voice comes again through the receiver, calm and confident. Certain political pressure will force Eisenhower's hand. He believes Eisenhower needs him. He believes his reputation gives him leverage. He believes victory belongs to whoever reaches Germany first. What Montgomery does not understand is that Eisenhower isn't commanding a race. He's commanding a coalition, and coalitions break faster than armies. Eisenhower lifts the receiver again. Monty, he says evenly, I'll consider your proposal. He doesn't promise anything. He doesn't yield, but he also doesn't refuse, because he knows something Montgomery doesn't. He knows Patton is already doing the one thing no plan can manufacture. He's creating fear. German intelligence reports from September repeatedly identify Third Army as the most dangerous Allied formation on the Western Front. Not because it's the largest, not because it has the most tanks, but because its movements cannot be predicted. German commanders can calculate Montgomery. They cannot calculate Patton. And that uncertainty forces them to hold reserves in place instead of counterattacking elsewhere. Fear is freezing German initiative, and Patton is the one creating it. Within hours, Montgomery escalates. His memorandum arrives not through normal military channels but directly to London, straight to Churchill. The implication is unmistakable. American caution is wasting victory. British boldness could end the war. It's political pressure disguised as strategy, and it works. British newspapers begin questioning Allied leadership, questioning Eisenhower, questioning American command competence. At Supreme Headquarters, the pressure builds fast. Bradley arrives unannounced. He doesn't sit down. If you ground Third Army, Bradley says flatly, I'll request relief. It isn't a threat. It's a statement of fact, because Bradley understands what Patton represents. Momentum. Momentum in war isn't just physical, it's psychological. Every mile Patton advances weakens German confidence. Every city he captures forces German commanders to react instead of plan. Every unexpected attack breaks their ability to stabilize the front. Stopping Patton wouldn't just halt an army. It would restore German confidence, and that could cost months. Months the Allies don't have. Eisenhower listens without interrupting. He knows Bradley is right. He also knows Churchill is flying in. Because now the war isn't just being fought against Germany. It's being fought inside the alliance itself, and Eisenhower must win both. September 14, 1944. Churchill's aircraft lands in France under heavy security. He doesn't waste time with ceremony. Within the hour, he is seated across from Eisenhower inside Supreme Headquarters, the two men alone. The future of Allied command resting on what happens next. Churchill understands Montgomery's demand. He understands British pride. He understands the political cost of denying Britain's most famous general. But Churchill also understands reality. America is carrying the war. American industry, American fuel, American divisions, American logistics stretching across an ocean. Without American support, the alliance collapses. Churchill studies Eisenhower carefully. What can you give him? Churchill asks, without breaking everything else. Eisenhower already knows the answer. He cannot give Montgomery control. He cannot halt Patton, because Patton is proving something no plan can guarantee. He is proving that speed wins wars, and Eisenhower cannot sacrifice victory for ego. I'll approve his operation, Eisenhower says, but nothing more. Churchill nods slowly. It's enough. Enough to preserve pride, enough to preserve unity, but not enough to surrender command. That afternoon, Eisenhower picks up the phone again. Montgomery answers immediately. You're not getting total supply priority, Eisenhower says. Silence. You're not getting command of all ground forces. More silence. The command structure remains exactly as it is. Montgomery had expected negotiation. He hadn't expected finality. For the first time in the conversation, he hesitates, because he understands now. Eisenhower isn't bluffing. Eisenhower is willing to let him resign, and Montgomery suddenly realizes something dangerous. He needs the alliance more than the alliance needs him. Eisenhower continues, I will approve your operation in Holland. You will receive priority for that operation alone. It is not surrender, it is a test, a single chance to prove his theory. Montgomery accepts, because it's the only option left. But 200 miles south, Patton doesn't need priority to prove anything. He's already proving it. Third Army continues advancing despite limited supply, capturing towns, destroying German formations, taking prisoners by the thousands. German commanders report the same problem repeatedly. They cannot predict him. He attacks where he shouldn't be able to attack. He advances when logistics say he must stop. He moves faster than their decision cycles. He turns uncertainty into a weapon, and uncertainty is lethal. German reserves remain tied down, waiting for attacks that might come at any moment. That paralysis weakens their entire defensive system. Patton is not just defeating German units, he's defeating German confidence. September 17, 1944, Montgomery launches Operation Market Garden. It is the largest airborne operation in history. 3 airborne divisions drop into Holland. Their mission is simple in theory, impossible in practice. Capture bridges, hold them. Allow armored forces to drive straight into Germany. If it works, the war could end quickly. If it fails, the cost will be catastrophic. From the beginning, the plan begins to unravel. German panzer divisions thought destroyed are waiting. Airborne units land too far from objectives. Ground forces advance slower than planned. German resistance hardens. Momentum disappears. Within days, the truth becomes unavoidable. The advance stops. Airborne units become isolated. The British 1st Airborne Division at Arnhem is surrounded, cut off, outnumbered, running out of ammunition. They fight anyway. They fight for 9 days, but courage cannot compensate for flawed planning. On September 26, survivors withdraw across the river. Out of 10,000 men, only 2,000 escape. The bridge remains in German hands. Market Garden has failed completely. At Supreme Headquarters, Eisenhower studies the reports in silence. He doesn't celebrate being right, because being right has cost lives, but he also understands something else. While Market Garden collapsed, Patton never stopped moving. Third Army continued attacking, continued advancing, continued forcing German retreat. The broad front remained intact. Germany could not concentrate against a single thrust. They were forced to defend everywhere, and defending everywhere meant defending nowhere effectively. Montgomery's gamble had risked everything on a single blow. Patton's aggression had achieved something more important: constant pressure. Pressure that never allowed Germany to recover. Pressure that slowly, relentlessly broke their ability to resist. In the weeks that follow, Eisenhower quietly restores balanced supply across the front. Patton receives more fuel, and immediately Third Army accelerates, advancing toward Germany itself. German resistance weakens further, because German commanders now face an impossible problem. They cannot predict where Patton will strike next. Fear replaces planning. Reaction replaces initiative. And once an army loses initiative, defeat becomes inevitable. Montgomery never threatens resignation again. He never demands total supply priority again, because Eisenhower has already answered the question that mattered most. Who commands the war? Not the most famous general, not the loudest voice, not the boldest gamble, the man responsible for winning together, not winning alone. By May 1945, Allied forces stand deep inside Germany. Victory achieved not through one decisive gamble, but through relentless pressure across the entire front. Patton's Third Army ends the war having advanced farther and faster than any Allied force in Western Europe, capturing hundreds of thousands of prisoners, destroying entire German formations, proving something no plan alone could achieve. That momentum is the most powerful weapon in war. Montgomery remains respected, professional, capable, but cautious, predictable, and in modern mechanized war, predictability is vulnerability. Patton was never predictable. He was feared, and fear forced Germany into mistakes they could not recover from. Eisenhower understood this. He didn't need the boldest general. He needed the one who never stopped attacking, the one who never allowed the enemy to breathe, the one who turned speed into dominance. The phone call in September 1944 didn't decide who would get more fuel. It decided something far more important. It decided that no single ego would control the alliance. It decided that victory would belong not to ambition, but to execution. One general demanded control. Another proved he didn't need it. And in the end, only one of them kept winning.